Getting older truly is one of the most natural and inevitable parts of this beautiful journey called life. Yet as the years gently accumulate, many of us unknowingly develop certain habits that, over time, can quietly create distance between us and the people we care about most. These aren't habits we adopt with any bad intention. Often, they emerge so gradually that no one around us feels comfortable pointing them out. That's why today, in this video, we're going to explore 13 common habits that tend to appear in our later years, habits that, little by little, can strain even the strongest relationships with family and friends who genuinely love us. Let's begin with habit number 1, constant complaining. As we grow older, life does present more challenges. Joints start to protest, everyday costs seem to climb higher, and the pace of the world feels increasingly difficult to match. It's completely understandable. However, when nearly every conversation turns into a detailed list of grievances, the people listening eventually begin to pull back emotionally. Picture this. Every time your dear friend Helen calls, the discussion revolves around noisy neighbors, unpredictable weather, rising bills, and frustrating government decisions. After a while, you might find yourself hesitating to return her calls, not because you don't care, but because the heavy negativity drains your own energy. Occasional venting can actually be healthy and relieving, but when it becomes the dominant tone of every interaction, it creates an atmosphere that feels exhausting for everyone involved. Instead, make a conscious effort to sprinkle in small moments of joy. Mention a lovely flower you noticed blooming in your garden, a kind gesture from a stranger, or a memory that brought a smile to your face. You'll be amazed at how quickly this small shift brightens the entire conversation and draws people closer rather than pushing them away. Habit number 2 revolves around talking only about illnesses and physical ailments. Of course, we all face health realities, arthritis that makes mornings difficult, blood pressure that needs monitoring, or a back that protests with every movement. Sharing these experiences occasionally is perfectly normal and even necessary. Yet when every single visit or phone call transforms into an extended medical report, loved ones can start feeling more like attendants at a doctor's waiting room than cherished family members. Your children and friends do care deeply about your well-being, but they also long to hear about the books you're enjoying, your thoughts on current events, the funny story that made you chuckle, or the new recipe you tried. Remember, you are so much more than your symptoms and diagnosis. One touching story comes from a woman who noticed her granddaughter gradually visiting less often. The young girl used to rush over full of excitement, but eventually those visits became rare and limited to holidays, largely because every gathering centered on detailed descriptions of medications, doctor appointments, and discomfort. Bringing balance back into these conversations can restore the warmth and connection that everyone misses. Moving on to habit number 3, being overly opinionated. By the time we reach our senior years, we've accumulated incredible wisdom from decades of experiences, wars, economic shifts, love stories, heartbreaks, and countless lessons learned the hard way. Your perspective truly matters and deserves to be heard. However, when every discussion turns into a situation where only your viewpoint is acceptable and everything else is immediately corrected or dismissed, it can slowly wear down even the most patient family members. Healthy conversations aren't competitions to be won. They're opportunities for mutual understanding. Sometimes the most powerful response is a gentle, "I see where you're coming from, even though I might view it differently." Take the example of Harold, a 74-year-old father who deeply loved his daughter. What he believed was simply offering helpful advice about her parenting choices came across to her as constant judgment and criticism. Over time, this created emotional distance that hurt both of them. Recognizing this pattern allowed him to soften his approach and rebuild their bond. Habit number 4, neglecting personal hygiene. This one can feel sensitive to discuss, but it's an important reality many face. As energy levels naturally fluctuate with age, it's easy to let routines slip. Yet maintaining basic hygiene goes far beyond mere cleanliness. It's a powerful expression of self-respect and dignity. When visitors arrive and notice unwashed clothes, lingering odors, or a home that feels neglected, they may remain polite in the moment, but feel hesitant to return. A caregiver once shared how her once proud father gradually stopped brushing his teeth regularly. It broke her heart to see this change because it affected not only his health, but also the physical closeness they once shared so easily. Something as simple as a refreshing shower, putting on clean, comfortable clothes, and running a comb through your hair sends a beautiful message to yourself and others. I still value myself and the time we spend together. Habit number 5. Living too much in the past. There is something truly golden about reminiscing. Sharing stories of how you first met your life partner, the adventures of raising your children, or what daily life felt like back in the vibrant 1970s can be incredibly enriching. These tales are precious treasures. However, when nearly every interaction becomes a one-way journey down memory lane, it leaves very little space for the present moment. Your adult children want to tell you about their new job or exciting projects. Your grandchildren are eager to show you their favorite music, funny videos, or the latest things they're passionate about. If you remain solely focused on how things used to be better or simpler, you might unintentionally miss the wonderful connections happening right now. A helpful shift is to balance storytelling with genuine curiosity. Ask questions. Listen actively. Stay interested in their world, and you'll keep the relationship vibrant and mutual. Habit number 6. Constantly criticizing younger generations. We've all caught ourselves saying things like, "Kids these days," with a sigh. Maybe their fashion seems unusual, their communication style feels too fast, or their attachment to phones looks excessive. Yet when young people only hear criticism from us, they naturally begin to tune out or withdraw. Remember that your own parents likely felt the same way about your music, your clothes, and your choices. It's simply part of the eternal cycle of generations. Rather than focusing on differences, try intentionally highlighting what you admire. Tell your grandson how creative his ideas are. Compliment your granddaughter's strength and independence. Building these positive bridges creates far more warmth and connection than repeatedly pointing out what you believe is wrong. Habit number 7. Gossiping or meddling in others' affairs. In close-knit communities or retirement settings, it can feel natural to discuss what everyone else is doing. However, gossip slowly erodes trust, while unsolicited meddling offering strong opinions where they weren't requested often makes people feel defensive and resentful. One gentleman shared how his mother repeatedly inserted herself into his marriage, offering constant advice about how he and his wife should handle everything. Although her intentions were loving, it created years of tension and distance. True, peace often comes from practicing respectful silence and allowing others the dignity to live their own lives. If they genuinely want your input, they will ask for it. Habit number 8. Refusing to adapt or learn new things. Modern technology, smartphones, video calls, online services, QR codes can certainly feel overwhelming at times. Yet when we completely close ourselves off from trying, we limit our ability to stay connected with younger family members. Embracing small new skills keeps your mind active and opens beautiful doors. Imagine the joy of video calling your grandchildren whenever you want, or sending them a heartfelt message on their birthday. One inspiring woman in her 80s decided to take a simple computer class. Now she plays virtual chess regularly with her nephew, who lives far away. She often says it made her feel young and vibrant again. The world keeps moving forward, but we have the wonderful choice to keep walking alongside it. Habit number 9. Playing the victim. Loneliness can be a very real and painful companion in later years, but repeatedly blaming others. My children never visit. Nobody calls anymore. People just don't care. Only deepens that isolation. These thoughts close your heart and make connection harder. The empowering alternative is to take small, proactive steps yourself. Pick up the phone just to say hello. Send a thoughtful card. Invite a neighbor over for tea or conversation. When you choose to reach out with openness, you shift from feeling stuck to feeling strong and connected. Habit number 10. Being overly controlling with finances. Money matters can be incredibly delicate. You may want to support your children or grandchildren, and that desire comes from love. But when financial help arrives with many emotional conditions, or constant reminders of what you've given, it can create feelings of manipulation and resentment. True generosity flows best when given freely, without strings attached. One older man gradually lost the warm respect of his adult children because he frequently brought up everything he had paid for. The visits stopped not out of ingratitude, but because the pressure and guilt became too heavy. Love that isn't tied to financial expectations tends to grow deeper and last longer. Habit number 11. Refusing help from others. Accepting assistance can feel like surrendering independence, but it's actually an act that deepens relationships. When your granddaughter offers to help carry groceries, let her. When a kind neighbor offers a ride to the doctor, say yes with. Gratitude, allowing others to care for you, gives them the joy of contributing and brings you closer together. Pride has its place, but warm reciprocal relationships matter even more. Habit number 12. Losing your sense of humor. Life in later years certainly carries heavier moments, health concerns, losses, and daily aches. Yet the ability to smile, laugh at life's absurdities, and find lightness remains incredibly attractive. People naturally gravitate toward those who can still share joy. One delightful elderly woman used to say with a twinkle in her eye, "I may be wrinkled, but I'm still plenty spicy." Her playful spirit made everyone around her feel more alive and hopeful. Laughter doesn't erase difficulties, but it lightens the load for everyone. Habit number 13. Giving unsolicited advice. This habit often stems from deep love and a desire to share hard-earned wisdom you want to help and protect. However, when advice flows constantly without being requested, it can feel like hidden criticism. Sometimes people simply need to be heard and supported. If your daughter shares a parenting challenge, responding with empathy, that sounds incredibly difficult. "I'm so proud of how you're handling it," builds far more trust than jumping in with solutions. When genuine advice is wanted, they will ask. Until then, your calm, loving presence is often the greatest gift. Growing older is indeed a privilege not everyone gets to experience. But growing older with grace, kindness, curiosity, and self-awareness is what transforms your presence into something truly cherished rather than burdensome. The wonderful news is that you don't have to overhaul everything at once. Even focusing on improving just one single habit can create noticeable positive changes in how people respond to you. So take a gentle, deep breath right now. Reflect with kindness on your own patterns. Ask yourself softly, which of these habits might I recognize in my daily life? If this message touched your heart or stirred some helpful reflection, please share it with someone you love. Drop a comment below and let us know which habit resonates most with you or someone you care about. Let's keep this important conversation going with honesty and compassion. And as always, stay kind to yourself and others. Remain humble. Keep your heart open and continue shining in your own golden way.